Ralsei is the third hero and prince of all Darkners, of which there are none until you start recruiting them. Alone and deepest dark indeed, at least in the beginning. Anyways, onto design. Ralsei's hooded sprite is extremely, intentionally generic, matching the image in his opening monologue. Within the confines of Chapter 1's arc, I see it as set up for the reveal that Ralsei looks like and parallels Asriel in some way. But with the context of Chapter 4, we have this prophecy pane in the Dark Sanctuary, and it looks very much like Ralsei's initial sprite. Perhaps Ralsei, who knew the prophecy, wore this gray cloak as a form of mental preparation, emulating the image that called him a hero to get himself ready to meet the other two heroes. Just speculation though. In any case, Ralsei's next design is the sprite he sports for the majority of Chapter 1, a design that remains present in the UI. With the hat that covers his horns, the scarf that wraps around his neck, chin, and shoulders, and the glasses that frame his face in lieu of putting more defined features there, Ralsei is a silhouette of a person. He's revealing more than his cloaked form, but there's still so much hidden. Secrets in the shadows, you could say. This, paired with his behavior, makes Ralsei a very androgynous boy, especially with his green cloak that looks like a dress. And with his shadow theming, he's an echo of someone familiar. Of Asriel, yes, but in Chapter 1, Ralsei also echoes the main themes of Undertale the game as a whole, at their most naive and least nuanced anyway. He views the world through a lens of kindness. It's no wonder the color of his clothes echo the soul trait of the same name in Undertale. But at the end of Chapter 1, Ralsei learns that it takes more than being a shadow of Undertale's themes to save the world. Susie herself says it best. It's complicated. There's nuance involved, just like in Undertale. Mercy doesn't equal servitude, a paradigm Ralsei still struggles with even in the most recent chapters, but I believe he's working on it. In any case, after this moment, with Lightners in his life, he gains the courage to take off his hat, leading us to his third design, and I think it's here I should address the main question. Is Ralsei an allegory representation of Asriel? He's no longer a shadow of Asriel, but there are certainly strong echoes of him still there. Look, his portrait sprite even changes from being at an angle to be front-facing, like Asriel's sprite in Undertale. And yeah, you could justify this as just a reuse of assets, but reusing an asset for one of the three main characters of the game is certainly notable and feels intentional. On the other hand, Chris seems to actively separate their brother from Ralsei, as shown in Chapter 4, where they actively point out Ralsei and Asriel's physical differences when showing a photo of Asriel to Susie. There's also that popular theory which states that Ralsei is a Darkner of Chris's old horned headband, effectively making him Chris's monster Sona. So it's not incest, it's self-cest, an ideal sibling to Asriel instead of a direct allegory to him. So I guess, what's my answer? Is Ralsei Asriel? Is Deltarune's Prince of the Dark a direct reflection of Undertale's Prince of the Underground? I think yes, in a way, but also no, because he shouldn't be. Like, Ralsei's allowed to take cues and inspiration from other places, but he shouldn't put himself in a box, because he's Ralsei. Ralsei is Ralsei. Let me elaborate. Ralsei's main arc centers on his journey to find his own autonomy. He feels trapped by his knowledge of the prophecy, and he feels trapped about his own nature as a Darkner. In Chapter 3, he confidently, albeit sadly, states that he doesn't even see Darkners, and by extension himself, as real. But just because he's an illusion doesn't mean he doesn't matter. He might not be able to do activities in the light world, but that doesn't exclude him from personhood. He has his own thoughts, feelings, and features that make his identity go beyond that of Asriel or a horned headband. And most importantly, he has mutual relationships with others. He's affected the lives of the people around him. As Susie said, Ralsei is real to her. In Deltarune as a whole, the Fun Gang's fight against the prophecy is intrinsically linked to Ralsei's battle for his own personhood. So, despite the stark similarities to another Goat Boy, I choose to say that Ralsei is Ralsei. And yeah, isn't it genius indeed how this struggle for identity is present in both Ralsei's arc and his design?